June 6th, 1955. The last broadcast from Black Hollow. On June 6, 1955, a radio station in a remote mountain town transmitted a message that should not have existed. The broadcast lasted only 4 minutes and 13 seconds. By sunrise, every employee working the night shift had vanished. The station building was found locked from the inside. The microphones were still warm. Coffee sat untouched on desks. The broadcast tape remained inside the recorder. But the voices captured on that tape created a mystery that would haunt investigators for decades. Because the final speaker was someone who had been officially dead for nearly 30 years. And according to the station logbook, that voice was speaking from inside the mountains beneath Black Hollow. The town of Black Hollow no longer appears on most maps. Nestled between steep forests and jagged cliffs, it was once a thriving mining community hidden deep within the northern mountains. By 1955, fewer than 2,000 residents remained. Most families had lived there for generations. The mines were old. The roads were poor. The outside world rarely visited. People in Black Hollow believed their town was forgotten. Many preferred it that way. The center of town consisted of a church, a general store, a diner, and a small radio station known as WHB-13. The station
operated from a modest brick building near the old railway tracks. Its purpose was simple: weather reports, local news, community announcements, music programs during the evening. Nothing unusual, nothing mysterious. At least, not until the spring of 1955. According to surviving records, strange reports began arriving months before the disappearance. Late-night listeners claimed they could hear voices hidden beneath normal broadcasts. At first, the complaints seemed harmless. People described faint whispers underneath music programs. Some believed it was radio interference. Others blamed equipment failure. Engineers inspected the station repeatedly. Nothing was found. Then, the whispers became impossible to ignore. Residents reported hearing names spoken through their radios. Not random names, their own names. One farmer claimed a voice repeatedly called him from inside his radio shortly after midnight. A school teacher reported hearing her deceased mother's voice during a weather forecast. Several families disconnected their radios entirely. Others became obsessed. Each night, they listened carefully, hoping to hear the whispers again. The station staff laughed at the rumors.
Until they started hearing them too. The night engineer, Samuel Reeves, was among the first. According to his journal, he noticed strange sounds bleeding through broadcasts shortly after 2 a.m. The sounds resembled distant conversations, multiple voices speaking at once. But none of the microphones were active. The studio was empty. Samuel searched every room. Nothing. When he returned to the control booth, the voices had stopped. 2 nights later, they returned. This time, louder. The words remained impossible to understand, yet one phrase repeated constantly, over and over, like a broken recording. Come below. At first, Samuel told nobody. Then, he began documenting everything. Dates, times, recordings, signal frequencies. The phenomenon grew stronger each week. By late May, even daytime employees noticed strange interference. Entire sections of music programs contained voices that nobody remembered recording. Listeners flooded the station with complaints. The station manager, Harold Pierce, feared losing public trust. He ordered a complete inspection of every transmitter and communication line. Nothing unusual was discovered. The equipment appeared flawless. Yet the voices continued. Meanwhile, another mystery emerged. People started disappearing. Not many, only a few. An elderly miner failed to return home after walking near the abandoned northern tunnels. A teenager vanished while hiking in the forest. A railway worker disappeared during a routine maintenance shift. No bodies were found. No evidence. No explanation. Most residents assumed unrelated accidents. Black Hollow sat near dangerous terrain.
Disappearances happened occasionally. But then came the journals. Families cleaning abandoned homes discovered handwritten notes left behind by missing residents. The entries shared disturbing similarities. Each described dreams. Dreams involving underground tunnels, dark passageways, echoing voices, and a massive cavern beneath the mountains. Every journal contained references to hearing someone call their name from below. Some writers claimed the voice belonged to deceased relatives. Others described complete strangers. The details differed. The message never changed. Come below. On June 5, 1955, station manager Harold Pierce made a decision. That evening, WHB-13 would conduct a special overnight broadcast attempting to identify the source of the mysterious transmissions. The experiment would involve keeping every microphone active throughout the night while engineers monitored incoming frequencies. The public was informed. Dozens of residents tuned in. Many remained awake until dawn. They expected answers. What they received was something else entirely. The special broadcast began at 11 p.m. For several hours, nothing unusual occurred. Music played normally. Announcements were delivered. Engineers reported stable equipment performance. Then, shortly after 1:17 a.m., listeners noticed a sudden change. The music faded unexpectedly. Static filled the airwaves. For nearly 20 seconds, only silence remained. Then a voice appeared. Not through the microphone, not from the announcer. A different voice. Male. Calm. Emotionless. The station logs later confirmed that nobody inside the building had spoken at that moment. Yet the voice continued. It said only 4 words. We have opened it. Across town, listeners froze beside their radios. The voice sounded distant, as though speaking from somewhere far underground. Moments later, every monitoring instrument inside WHB-13 began malfunctioning simultaneously. Signal meters fluctuated wildly, recording devices activated without commands. Several clocks inside the building reportedly stopped at exactly 1:18 a.m. Then the final broadcast began. The transmission lasted 4 minutes and 13 seconds. No official explanation has ever been provided for what was recorded during those 4 minutes. Because what investigators heard afterward would change the history of Black Hollow forever.